fishing, it's in my soul.
Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way. And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
Why my 2-year-long experiment with alcohol is officially over. Hey everybody, Joe Simons, like diamonds, back here, Salt Strong Unchurched. This is going to be a little bit of a sobering episode, pun intended. In all seriousness, alcohol is very, very big deal. It impacts a lot of people in a negative way. It's broken up families. It's destroyed men and women. And I've talked about it in terms of anxiety. It's what kicked off my very first full-on panic attack / anxiety attack. And what's sad is a lot of people, turn to alcohol to help get rid of some anxiety. And I believe it probably does, right? I mean, one drink probably does take down a little bit of the tension, a little bit of the anxiety. But I've also found there is certainly a tipping point where alcohol can actually make anxiety, especially people who are having anxiety attacks, much worse, especially the following day. I mean, that whole feeling your body has in a hangover, it's just like anxiety out the roof. At least that has been my experience and the experience of many other people who have shared some of their stories with anxiety and ongoing anxiety attacks that I suffered through for well over a decade. And I've personally, struggled with alcohol off and on, meaning I was very, very blessed as a youngster, meaning in high school, to not drink alcohol. And then in college, I started drinking alcohol and really loved it. I loved it a lot. And had a lot of fun with alcohol. So did some, dumb things with alcohol. But, I would certainly consider myself a binge drinker in and through college. And most of my friends were as well. And then as an adult, I continued to kind of go off and on with it. I had a very demanding job, and I took it so serious. I didn't drink. I wouldn't touch alcohol during the week, but I would on the weekend, and I would binge drink like crazy on the weekend. And then that was, looking back at that, those were about 9 or 10 years of that's all I did. I mean, I literally wouldn't touch alcohol. I mean, literally wouldn't touch it on the weekdays. But come Friday night, man, I was getting drunk. I was having a good time, and Saturday as well. Why not do 2 days? 2 days are better than one. But in all seriousness, that was what I did, and I'm just sharing that with you. So you have kind of a background of my drinking, and then as you become an adult, things change, right? At least for me. And when you have kids, things change, and get married, things change, and you realize you can't really afford to be hungover anymore. And as you age, your body starts screaming to you, I don't want to be hungover. And I had one horrible experience with alcohol about a little over 2.5 years ago. And, kids were out of town. I've shared this before on a prior podcast, which kind of kicked off this whole 2-year experiment. And in this experience, I went way above board. Started with beer, right? I'm always been a beer drinker. I've never been a hard liquor guy. Never, I'm the last guy that would ever buy a shot in a bar, to put it in perspective. I don't know that I ever have. Even in college, I would take shots if people bought them for me. But one, I was too cheap, and two, I just didn't I'm not a shot guy. I like to enjoy just drinking beer. I would drink a lot of beer, but I enjoy just being a beer drinker. And started off drinking beer, and then all of a sudden we get invited to some party. We're like, well, hey, you know what? I guess we don't have kids. Normally would have said no in a heartbeat. And I was like, well, we don't really have our kids. So yeah, we'll come. And next thing you know, they're doing shots at their house, and I'm taking part in it. And why not, right? No kids and nothing to really do the next day. And I woke up, long story short, with the worst hangover of my life. And I don't think I did a single thing productive that day. I mean, literally destroyed an entire day. And I made a pact after that happened with myself that I was either not going to drink or I was going to, stop at a certain amount. Like there had to be some rules, because clearly all rules were thrown out the door that evening. And so I had an old mentor back in the day that always said, nothing good happens past 3 drinks. And that was something he lived by. And so he drank. And, but I never saw him drunk, right? Because he really was. He'd stop at 3. And so, at least in general, right? There might have been a time he had 4, maybe even 5, in a full day. But 3 drinks, he said, any setting or any given day really is all you need. Like, it's just like Mom always said, nothing good happens past midnight. If you look at some of, the police records, most of the arrests and all the dumb things that happen, most of it happens past midnight, right? Like, it makes complete sense. And so said, you know what? There's no science behind it, but I'm going to do it. It's better than what I'm currently doing, which is, kind of binge drinking here and there, and then going on a stint of not drinking. And I used to even take the whole month of February off. I did that for probably 8 years. I just not drink anything for February. And then, then I drink in March again because we got warmed up and it was spring break time. And, everyone's so different on that. But I said, you know what? I'm going to put my own rules in place, and I'm going to stop with 3. No exceptions. So for the first year, I nailed it. I mean, literally did not go past 3. And I don't remember any cases where I felt like I needed to. I've talked to some people with alcohol, and they said, man, if I have 1, I can't stop. I got to have 20, right? I got to keep going. It's something in my brain. I got to have more. I'm fortunate, and I did not have that. Just like some people can have a little bit of anxiety. If I had any anxiety, it turned into a full-blown panic attack. Everyone's wired differently, and so I don't judge people, and I hope people don't judge me. I am going to ask for some feedback and even some prayer at the end of this, but I just share with you kind of how my mindset was, and even just how my body reacted. So I could have 3. And I would be done, and it would be great. And I felt great, right? I mean, I got a ton done that entire year. It was like a flat line versus these, big peaks and then dips, right? Because that's what I was doing. Is I was kind of reverting back to how I was in my very first job, where I'm working hard. I can't afford to be drinking during the weekday, but I'd go have a blast in the weekend and maybe have a couple too many, right? And so the 3 drinks, it helped me out big time. But in year 2, I don't remember when, but it was usually a couple of events where, it was a big party or a lot of old friends around, and I would stick with my 3 drinks. But what I started doing is, and once again, I'm a beer person, right? So in the beginning, it was just 3 beers and done, right? No questions asked. But I started saying, well, you know what? I kind of really want to get a really good buzz. So I'm going to stick with my 3 drinks, but I'm going to go with, maybe 2 beers and a big vodka drink, right? So I'd have my 2 beers, and then, like in a Yeti cup, you can I'm not talking about pure vodka, but, you'd have vodka mixed with whatever, cranberry juice, Sprite, whatever you're into, orange juice. And I'd start doing that. So that'd be my 3rd drink. And technically, I hadn't broken my 3 drink maximum because it was 3 drinks. One just happened to be a whole lot stouter than the 2 beers prior. And I knew it was wrong, right? Meaning, like, I guess technically it was right, but you know what I'm saying? Like, morally, I was like, you know what? Like, I'm just cheating my own stupid rule. Like, what am I doing? And then it was just one night, so I forget about it. And then, a couple months later, we'd have another party or something would come up, and I'm like, oh yeah, like we're going to be here all day. I'd really like to get a buzz, and it's something around some of my old drinking friends. And so I'd make another exception, and, I'd have a monster vodka drink. So I'm more of a vodka than, bourbon, even though I know it's popular and I like bourbon, but I take vodka all day long over that on a mixed vodka drink. And so I found myself doing that, a handful of times. And every time I was like, man, that's so stupid. Like, what am I doing? Why don't I just go back to beer? But I didn't. I'd always have some vodka in the fridge. And then it all kind of came to fruition, which is a big reason I'm doing this podcast and why I made a change. I went to a college football game. It was a noon game. It was pretty hot out. This is a little over 2 months ago. And this was a very warm day before it got cool out. Actually, by the time you hear this, it's 2.5 months ago. So had my 3-drink maximum still, but it was the first time that I did all 3 vodka drinks. So normally, like I said, I have 2 beers and I have a vodka drink, just kind of get that extra little buzz. And I had 3 vodka drinks. I knew I shouldn't have done it. And I think the problem with any of that hard liquor stuff is it catches up to you and hits you so fast. And especially when it's hot outside and you're drinking fast, trying to cool down because obviously there's ice in there and you don't, it's mixed, so you don't really taste it. And I didn't really eat much, it's game day and I'm just out there talking around being my social self and don't eat much. And I ended up running in, to my parents later that afternoon, and I'm still drinking my 3rd drink now. So I'm just still sipping on this stiff vodka drink, my 3rd one. And they could see, and my parents were completely sober. And they could see that I've been drinking and said something, like, "Are you okay?" And I still remember all this, so I was not like to the point of like blacking out like I probably was that time 2.5 years ago. But for someone who's supposed to only be drinking 3 drinks, they knew, they could tell instantly that I had somehow gone over that. And I was like, "Oh, my 3rd drink," and I knew I all of a sudden I was like, you know what, I'm sorry, and I ended up pouring the rest of that drink out and ended up going home. And, I was not having to drive or anything, but I could see the disappointment in their eyes. I felt it in my own heart. And I was just mad at myself. I was like, how did I get to this? Right. Doing this 3-drink thing, it was supposed to be a good thing. I wasn't supposed to lie to myself. I certainly shouldn't have just started going to putting more vodka in there. So just having 3 beers and being done. And I ended up going to bed super early and I woke up pretty early. And actually I felt good just because I went to bed so stinking early and I pounded tons of water after talking with my parents and just feeling horrible about myself. And that next day I ended up just doing a bunch of yard work. I think for me, it's a great way to talk to God, just being outside and doing something by myself and getting my hands dirty. And I just start thinking, man, like, how did I get here? Right. The first year was amazing. Most of the time it was amazing. I had these couple instances where I kind of took all the rules away but more importantly, went to something I don't really even like. Like I'd prefer not to be drinking vodka and stuff like that. And so I said, you know what, I'm just going to pray on this. And I'm not going to drink the rest of this next week anyways. That was a Sunday and I'm out there pulling weeds. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to give it to God and let's, do I need to, either I need to stop drinking or I need to, I don't know, this whole 3-drink thing was almost like putting stress on me to have to think about it, right? Well, I can't day drink here because I was just doing stupid stuff like that, which made no sense. It's something I'd never done before in my life. And I felt like it was almost putting stress to the point. I was like, well, man, like, what if I only have one left and I'm hanging out with all my old friends at night? I was thinking, which clearly can mean I have a problem, and I have no issues with some of you guys telling me I do. But at the same point, I also had no problems ever stopping instantly. Even that instant, the second I could see the disappointment in my parents' eyes, I literally poured the stuff out and I said, I'm done. I mean, ask my wife. Like I was 100% done and did not even want to touch the stuff. So I don't want to quit. I'll just be honest. I enjoy the ability to have a drink and to know when to stop. And so anyhow, I just said, I'm gonna pray on it and God, I'm asking you to give me some guidance. And no lie, about 2 days after that, so let's just say it's a Tuesday night, I get a text from my dad, kind of out of the blue, and he just said, "Hey, I've been thinking about you with all this," and he's like, "I had an instance when I was a younger adult, a couple decades ago, and he goes, all I'm going to say is I made a pact that I was never going to drink hard liquor again." And he's like, so ever since then, I've stuck with beer, and that's all I've ever seen my dad drink is beer and wine for my entire life. I've never seen him drunk, and I've never even seen him like super buzzed or anything. He's just an even keeled, super amazing person who takes things in moderation. And I said, well, gosh, I'd like to be like my dad. And my dad literally just sent me this text and I've been praying on it. And so I said, all right, well, that's step number one is I am going to eliminate all of the liquor from my life. I'm not going back to it. Now I say that here and I'm hoping people hold me accountable. There might be a time where I might have a sip of something. But for the most part, I'm not going to be owning liquor in my house. Like I did prior. I mean, we used to never have liquor in here, and now I always have it, and always had access to it. And I'm going back to the beer route. And I think the big question, the thing I'm still struggling with, is, do I stick with the three, or do I just stick with moderation and say, you know what, if there's an opportunity where I have a beer at lunch on a Saturday, seen an old friend, and I have 3 later that night and have 4. Is that okay? I don't know. It's something I've been thinking about a ton. But my 2 options, honestly, are one, I'm going to stick with beer and just see how that goes. And number 2, I'm not going to put the stress of the 3 drinks on me, because I do believe that was kind of what led to that. And I think I just need to be honest with myself. And I haven't had one of these events come up again where I would be in a position where I would have normally even thought about, hey, I got to moderate my 3 just to make sure I don't blow them, right? I don't use them at the wrong time. And I've even turned down, some drinks that, as is like my 3rd drink, because it wasn't strong enough. Like, man, I really want to have that last one to be a strong one. And shame on me. In many cases, I would have been better having 3 more beers than a super stiff vodka drink. So, at any rate, I hope some of this makes sense. I always pray for God to, just to hit the right person, to reach the right person with every one of these messages. And I know a lot of people struggle with this, and including myself. And the fact that I even have to get on a podcast and talk about it means this is a big deal to me. And this is probably the way Satan's trying to get in my head. And it certainly had me thinking for the first time ever about quitting, about just going cold turkey. But I'm going to continue to try, at least just doing very moderation beers only. And just that's going to be my word for the rest of this year. Next year is moderation. And if I can't do that, then by George, I got to cut it out. I completely, which would suck for me, but might be the best thing that ever happened to me. And so I'd love your feedback. And I know there's going to be some people that are going to say, oh man, you got a serious problem on your hands. And I don't blame you. I will take any and all feedback you got. So shoot me a message, joe@saltstrom.com, or any other things that you guys have figured out that have worked. And, in terms of just being more in moderation. Sorry, I'm not actually drinking. I'm getting a sip of water. This past week, our whole family dealt with all kinds of issues with allergies and sinus and stuff. And so my throat is still a little bit scratchy. So I literally am drinking. Here it is. Members Mark purified water. It is not a drink. Sweet irony. But no, I'd really love any and all feedback that you have on things that have maybe worked for you. Or things that work for, your friends, who still enjoy drinking, enjoy the social aspect of it, but want to do it in moderation, who never want to be hungover again. Because that's my goal. I never want to be hungover again. But at the same point, my wife drinks. I like to just go out on the dock and just, have a beer or a glass of wine with her. I mean, those are fond memories. Not to say I haven't had amazing memories with her without it, but little things like that do mean a lot to me, and I'd like to continue to do that. And why I'm very hopeful, and why I am not just putting a stake in the ground saying I'm going sober forever is just because of how I know I personally feel where I can stop. And I have been able to stop for 2 years at 3 with the handful of exceptions where I decided to have a big vodka drink. But even then, I did stop, and I didn't feel like, oh man, I got to go sneak in some shots or do something stupid. Sorry, sip number 2 of water. So I'd love your feedback on that. I know this will probably be an ongoing conversation. And I will continue to keep you updated on how it goes for me. And if you ever do see me, don't buy me a shot. Buy me a beer. So love you guys. Thank you so much for putting up with me and listening. I just wanted to get that conversation going because every time I've talked about alcohol, it's created a lot of comments, some really good feedback. And then finally, say pray for me if you guys can. Say a quick prayer for me that I would get guidance on it, and that I would do whatever decision I make, for the right reasons, and to honor God in that. That's my big thing. The second that I feel like this is Satan talking to me, or that this is something that's going to end up negatively impacting me or my family, or even you guys for that matter, then I don't want to do it, and I need to go a different direction. So please pray for me, and let me know if I can pray for you on this same subject. Joe@saltstrong.com. Peace. I'm out.
'Cause fishing, it's in my soul. It was passed down to me from the days of old. Find us on the water if there was a way. It's been said my papa, he wrote the book on catching big reds and 20-pound snook. I wish I knew all the things he knew today. For he's the reason why we are this way. And he put fishing